Nothing more to report. With regard to food shortage, yes, we did talk about food shortages. And it's going to be real. The price of these sanctions is not just imposed upon Russia. It's imposed upon an awful lot of countries as well, including European countries and our country as well.
MasterCard and the United Nations are joining forces to monitor the carbon effect of your credit card purchases. And then you'll hit your carbon max and it'll stop working. Hey, of course it's voluntary for now. The new credit card is called Doconomy. And on the back of the card, it's going to say, I am taking responsibility for every transaction I make to help protect the planet. This is a social credit score, and it's a proof of concept. The Doconomy CO2 credit card website claims it is the largest initiative ever taken by a bank in educating its users on the impact of consumption. They say themselves they want to set a global standard for carbon calculations. That's the key. Once they have their numbers in place, then they can give every single purchase you make a score and punish you directly. This is what China does. And of course, this will only be enforced on you and me and any businesses that don't go along with their scheme. And banks are going to enforce it.
In this battle, we need to be clear-eyed. This battle will not be won in days or months either. We need to steel ourselves for the long fight ahead. And you're going to see when you're there, and some of you have been there, you're going to see women, young people standing in the middle in front of a damn tank, just saying, I'm not leaving. I'm holding my ground. They're incredible.
You may have seen some posts in Facebook groups or noticed some posts on Instagram. Supermarkets are out of salt, at least at the time of making this video. Everywhere you go, from the smallest corner store to the largest 4X Maxima, regular table salt and other forms of salt are completely out of stock. One source noted that Ukrainian rock salt sold in stores, which normally might cost just 39 cents per kilogram, is now selling on Facebook groups for 4 to 6 euros. You may already know why this is, or maybe you have your own theories. But today, let's take a look at this strange situation and just what exactly is causing it. Many people commenting on this situation will often reference the toilet paper buying frenzy of 2020. When the pandemic hit early in 2020, toilet paper, among other products, was the first thing people purchased.
Toilet paper sales up more than 100% from this time last year.
Even though there was theoretically enough for everyone to live normally, people in some parts of the world bought up supplies in massive quantities, hoarding enough for months of regular use.
People were going to stores and they seemed to want more toilet paper than they could ever use in a 6-year period if they had continual diarrhea. And now it's gone. it's all gone and people are panicking.
This had nothing to do with a real increase in demand, or even a catastrophic issue with supply. People simply did it because others were doing it. And eventually, others were doing it because this panic buying eventually caused a legitimate shortage of supply.
I just want one pack. No, not one pack.
Researchers say that the buying of toilet paper was a coping mechanism to help people feel in control of an uncertain situation. So is this the case in Lithuania with this widespread shortage of salt? Well, yes and no. In this case, the trigger for the shortage of salt does indeed stem from a basic supply issue. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has affected Ukraine's ability to produce and export salt, with one of the main regions of Ukrainian salt mining in the east disrupted by war and conflict. If this wasn't bad enough, the country banned the export of salt on March 9th, cutting off any residual supply that was still making its way through the system. These events have affected Lithuania's supply since the country gets salt from Ukraine. However, there's more to the story than this. It's not just that supplies have stopped or slowed, but that Lithuanians have been buying much more salt. Vakarų Expressas reports that some supermarkets have experienced a 10-fold increase in salt sales. It came to our attention that it was Ukrainian and that people were afraid of the disruption of the salt supply, the communication manager of IKE stated. It so happened the supply of rock salt from Ukraine is disrupted. We are currently intensively looking for an alternative. Later, there was a domino effect when people started buying any salt.
Farmers in Ukraine try to plant crops as the war rages around them. The cost of both bread and corn already higher. Wheat prices up 5% today alone, up nearly 40% since the invasion began last month. The surge marks wheat's largest quarterly gain in 15 years, and the price of corn up more than 15% in the past month. CNBC's Seema Modi reports on the potential impact these high prices could have here at home.
Higher wheat prices should make farmers like Nicole Berg, the owner of this 21,000-acre farm in Washington, feel rich. But the costs of fuel and fertilizer are eating into profits.
The issue we're having right now is that input costs are going up even more than the price of wheat.
Nicole, like many farmers, is also constrained by the agriculture equipment market, where supply chain issues continue to delay orders of key machinery needed to plant and harvest.
We have to put a deposit down, so I have money going out, but I can't even get the drill until possibly the fall of 2024.
Last month, John Deere said order books for the upcoming year are mostly full. With planting season of spring wheat just weeks away, farmers in states like Montana, North Dakota, and Minnesota are faced with a tough decision. Should they plant more crop, not knowing whether prices will hold up?
Is it worth the risk? Prices are very high now, but what if the Ukraine crisis suddenly evaporates? Doesn't look like that. Well, then they could be left holding the bag.
Unlike other countries like China that have been stockpiling wheat and other crops, the production of wheat in the U.S. has steadily declined in recent years, down 35% from its recent peak. Dwindling supply as the war continues, experts say, a crisis like this with a potential seismic level loss of wheat supplies globally will impact low-income consumers the most.
In places like the United States, we'll draw down the reserves that people have and are owning, and we will have to run the price up high enough to reduce demand somewhat.
Well, as of now, here in the U.S., no signs of a shortage, but Americans continue to see even higher prices at the grocery store. Cereal is 15% more expensive than a year ago. Bread is higher by 10%. A number of shoppers we spoke to say if prices continue to rise, they will start to cut back. Shep?
Seema Modi, thanks so much.
And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine.